schoolmarm had not taken to him. Her wariness of him could present problems down the road if she couldn't put her trust in him. Will needed her to believe he was the new foreman for the Oliver Lumber Company. On the brighter side, he could tell by the way her gaze softened when she looked at Harry and Minnie that she would be kind to them. He figured that had to count for something.
"Right now,"
his boss said.
"all you have are some trunks and a promise of one room for you to sleep in tonight. I can tell from the set of your jaw that handing them off to another family for safekeeping isn't going to be an option."
Drawing himself up to his full height, Will replied, "No, sir, it is not." Leaving his perch on the desk, his superior walked around to the back of it.
"My grandmother's house is 2 streets over. It will need to be cleaned up, and there are some sparse furnishings, enough to keep you and the children comfortable. Miss Mitchell can furnish her apartment as she sees fit."
"Yes, sir." Will worried that once she'd had some time to think about what she would be getting into, she might have a change of heart. He needed another plan in case this one didn't work out. "Is there anyone else in town who can help out in case the schoolteacher backs out?" Raising an eyebrow, Oliver replied,
"Have you seen the size of this town, Will? There aren't all that many females of an age who can tend to your children. I assure you that the teacher will do a just service for you."
"I need to be clear about one thing. I am not going to use the children as part of my cover."
"The children, by default, will be a part of this, Agent Benton. I trust you will keep them safe."
John Oliver's comment didn't leave any room for argument. "What about Miss Mitchell? Once she moves into the apartment, how will I keep her from finding out who I really am? I don't need to put anyone else in danger."
"I suspect you'll find a way."
Pulling out his chair, Oliver sat down, shuffled through a stack of papers, and said,
"I imagine the children must be tired and a bit hungry. You can use the one room we spoke about earlier for tonight, since it's clean and the bed's made up. Settle in, and then the 3 of you can come to my house for supper. Tomorrow will be soon enough for you to see about the other quarters for your family and Miss Mitchell."
Though he was thankful to Agent Oliver for offering up the spare room at the back of his office, the one thing Will hated was to have a cold nose, and when he awoke to bright sunlight flooding through the only window in the narrow room, his nose was cold. Rubbing his sleeve across it, he slowly opened his eyes to find 2 matching sets of blue-green eyes staring down at him. "Good morning, Uncle Will." Harry's breath was a thin vapor in the chilly morning air. "We're hungry. And cold." His teeth chattered. In her arms, Minnie held tightly to Hazel the doll. Will pushed aside the blankets he'd made a bed out of on the floor last night. He walked over to the small stove and added some wood to the fire he'd banked. The children sat on the edge of the single bed, watching him. "I've got to go use the necessary," he grumbled, not used to having an audience. Minnie giggled, and Harry said, "We already went." That meant they'd been outside without him knowing they'd left the room. He must have been more tired than he'd thought. Pausing with one hand on the doorknob, he glanced over his shoulder and warned, "I don't like you wandering around without telling me where you're going."
"We didn't want to wake you up,"
Harry shrugged, adding,
"I remembered where it was from last night when you took us."
Angry with himself for sleeping through their movements, Will said, "From now on, you tell me when you're leaving."
"Sure, Uncle Will. When you get back, can we eat?"
Nodding, Will left them to attend to his business. He returned a few minutes later to open the basket containing blueberry muffins that Oliver's housekeeper had sent them off with last night. Handing one to each child, he took the last one for himself, longing for a cup of strong black coffee to accompany it. Biting into the muffin, he worried how they were going to react when he told them they would be going off to school today. There was no sense putting off the inevitable. "Harry and Minnie, I'm going to be taking you to school today."
"Why can't we stay with you?"
Harry asked. Minnie stopped chewing to look up at him. Her round eyes widened, and he could see the tears starting to well. There was no other choice. They couldn't stay with him.
"I can take care of Minnie while you work, Uncle Will."
He knelt in front of them,